This video is all about what it's like to relocate from the Northeast to South Florida. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Chris Igoe. I have an all-star team that services all of South Florida. I make content on a bi-weekly basis to showcase exactly what it's like to live, work, play, eat, and thrive here in South Florida. So today, I'm kind of switching things up a little bit and doing it a little bit differently because I wanted to share with you exactly what the process is like from your side of the street. So we've got lots of people who watch our videos. We have lots of people who reach out and we help relocate from the Northeast, the Pacific Northwest, out west, all over the world. And we are truly blessed for that opportunity. But this is the first video that I've actually done, which is going to highlight that process exactly from start to finish from someone who just did it. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Matt Gambino, and I'd like him to share exactly what that experience was like so that you can experience what it is. All right, so with that in mind, Matt, welcome.
What's up, guys? Chris, thank you for having me here to talk about the process and what we went through. Just want to probably start off with a little bit of backstory of who we are and what our intentions were before anything. So it's me and my wife, Zarina. We have two kids. They were 6 and 4 when we decided to come here. Now, we were in New Jersey. We moved from New York to New Jersey before, but that's not too much of a stretch. It's a 20-minute drive and over a bridge, so that wasn't a big deal. But then last year, we decided we wanted to get out. We knew the only place that we would really want to go to was South Florida.
Well, let me ask you a question. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so you just said something I think is really important. And I think it's something similar to what a lot of people are experiencing from that region right now and from other places too. So you knew you needed to get out. Why?
Things were getting weird in the Northeast. And it's probably stemmed from New York, but also in New Jersey, where we didn't like how the city and the mayor and the governor were handling situations that sparked from COVID. Things were locked down way longer than they should have been. And it wasn't pleasant for us or the kids. School was restricted. Our daughter, Zoe, she was basically just on remote schooling. So she wasn't really interacting with people. Where we lived in Jersey, there's no like real close-knit communities, which is something that we always wanted ever since we had kids. So now that she was fully remote, her only friends existed on Zoom. So we didn't like the life that we were living, especially after COVID. So we knew we had to make a change. We knew we didn't want to go too far. We didn't want to go out west. We wanted to come south. And we knew that people were coming down here. We tried to understand why. And the answers were simple. Things were a little bit more relaxed down here. The weather, of course, is phenomenal. And we just hate the snow, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Okay, so you knew you wanted to leave. You knew you wanted to be in South Florida. What happened from there?
So from there, we knew we were only in Jersey for 3 years, mind you. And we knew there was a time right then and there. We had maybe a 3 or 4 month gap where everyone was fleeing New York to come to New Jersey. So we knew that if we wanted to sell, this was our time. And I know that there's a lot of other cities around the country as well, where there is this magic moment, and that's happening now as well, where if you're going to sell, do it now. But we had so many questions at that point, right? Like, where would we go? How do we move across the country? How do we set the kids up in school? We don't know anybody there. How do we move our things? There was just so many questions. So we needed clarity on that. And all of that fogginess was delaying what we knew we had to do. So what I did, which is what I do best, is I committed to selling our home in New Jersey because now I needed to figure this stuff out. So because of that, it drew the necessity of needing to find answers. So how did we find answers? Of course, we hit the internet. We Googled, we searched. And funny enough, my wife found this very awesome and loud guy on YouTube who sort of knew everything about every area. And she was watching his videos and she sent me a few, but I didn't really, check them out at first because she was more into the details way more than I was. And she finally sent me a video that spoke about Wellington because that was one of the top 5 cities on our list. So I checked it out. And who other than Chris Igoe was the guy telling me all about the city of Wellington and how if I really didn't love horses, it wouldn't be the best spot for a family to thrive because I would feel disconnected in a world that loved horses and I couldn't care less about a horse. So I decided, you know what? He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So let me look down below. He said his number's there to reach out to him. Let me just shoot him a text. I'm sure you remember the text that I sent you. And I said, Chris, we need to talk. Here's my situation. And I kind of laid it all out and that began the journey.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember the text. So, okay, so you decided you wanted to move. You had a strong motivation to move. Now, this is kind of a little bit off topic as it relates to you, but it is something that I'm aware of, and you mentioned, which is that sweet spot that exists for the cities that are outside of those major dense urban areas, right? So obviously you've got New York City right there. You got a lot of people in Manhattan and all over the city that are essentially fleeing. And you did have that sweet spot, and you still do. There's a lot of people that are still doing that.
Yep.
So you kind of knew that this was really the time to strike while the iron's hot, and you capitalized on that. So our first conversation, you reached out to me. What happened from there on your end?
So I reached out to you. You responded to me right away. And the first thing you positioned me to, because I had so many questions, was our Zoom call, which I'm very familiar with now because that's how we take care of our clients. And the reason for that call was you knew that it would answer 99.9% of my questions. And it turns out it did. You took me through the presentation, which is more of a strategy session than it is just a presentation, because walking me through start to finish, you basically cleared the fog 1 foot at a time all the way until the finish line. So for me, if A to Z was the goal, everything was a fog between each and every letter for me before speaking to you. But upon that call, you kind of like paved the way for me, just releasing the fog that was between each letter to get me down that road. And the fear disappeared after you showed me the solution for each tactic, how to move, how to get into the right school, choosing the right area, how to transport things. Do I rent first, which was my big concern too, because what if I buy wrong? These were all things that were in my mind that I couldn't get out because I didn't know the answer. And the only reason why I was afraid or stressed about it was because I did not know the answer and you knew the answers. So bringing me through that session, which if you didn't bring me through, I probably wouldn't even be here because it just let me take the leap of faith, which wasn't even a leap of faith because I knew exactly what the next steps were. And it just revealed itself as we went along the process.
Yeah, and that I think is really key for anybody who's thinking about doing really anything. Is you need to be clear on exactly what that process is. So I tried to, and I think I've done a very good job of creating a presentation that alleviates all those concerns and answers all those questions and demystifies the process. So it's really more about empowering you with information so that you know what the next steps are, what that looks like, what the workflow looks like, what your exposure is to different variables that may exist within the contract, and exactly how to strategize to, number one, get you the home that you want, but then two, get you the best deal possible.
Correct.
And I think that you and Zarina both, because you were both on the consult, if I remember correctly. Actually, we did too, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it started with me, and then we brought her into another one afterwards.
Yeah, but there needed to be total buy-in and trust in the process. And I think for you, obviously, the first step was to ensure that you knew what was going on, and then from there, do the same thing for Zarina. And
let me stop you there. The reason why that Zarina wasn't on the call is because in my mind, I thought I was about to go through the same process that I would with any realtor, which is honestly, a complete waste of time most of the time because,
right.
And it's the truth. That's why I didn't drag her on the call and tell her, hey, babe, you got to, I'll take this half hour and you have to be on this thing. It's because most agents don't treat this like a business. Most agents treat this like a hobby. And that's what I thought I was going to get because I didn't know you yet. Right. But knowing what I knew now, I would have got my whole family on that Zoom call to be on the same freaking page because it wasn't a waste of time. And the more clarity that everyone has, the easier it is for everyone to come down because eventually people followed me. And if they were on that same process that I was from the start, there would have been no questions asked. Everyone would have known exactly what the next step was and executed on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome. So what were your, I do remember, but I want you to speak about, you had some places in mind,
Yep.
but so a lot of people I think also have different areas in mind. So would you speak to how I kind of reverse engineer based on what you wanted in a home and a lifestyle, where we ended up eventually landing?
Yeah, of course. So our top three, if I'm not mistaken, when I remember it, was Boca, Parkland, or Wellington.
Yep.
And you asked me why. And I said, I have no clue why. So the way you reverse engineered it for us, which made a lot of sense, was okay, there's two variables here, right? There's one variable which is what kind of house do you like, right? Because that's going to play a factor in where you want to be. But the other variable is what lifestyle are you going after and what are the key ingredients that you want in that lifestyle, including schools, kids, proximity to restaurants, and things like that. Because we know you have your list of three. This is what you told me, your Wellington, your Parkland, and your Boca, but the lifestyle and home you're after could exist elsewhere and open you up to the opportunity of grabbing and landing on a better deal instead of locking on the three places that probably all of social media is talking about. So I said, okay. And you said the first step is just know the area. So you actually told us the first step should be, since we already had a trip coming down, was let's tour the area. Let's figure out what the areas are. Let's go through Boca, Wellington, and Parkland, which we did. And I did not like any of them. But when you took me to an area that I never heard of called Boynton Beach, I was like, what the hell is Boynton Beach, to be honest with you? And I just didn't know. But when you took me there, the second we went in West Boynton was the moment I knew I was home before even seeing the houses. So I knew the area now that I wanted to be in. And this isn't the area that pops up on social media everywhere or the news or anywhere else. This was just an area that I never heard of in between the areas that I wanted to be in. And now that we knew the area, the next step was finding the house, which is just biding our time until we actually land on that deal, which we eventually did.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was awesome. So let me ask you this. What was the process like? Now, and I do, if I remember correctly, you had some moving parts that you were concerned about first, which I think a lot of people will also have. So if you
Yes,
wouldn't mind speaking about that, I think that would be helpful.
there's two moving parts that scared the hell out of me. The second one, which wasn't as fearful, was how do I get the kids in the school on time? So I didn't know how to transfer schools, but you showed me everything I needed to know. You connected us to the schools that they would be zoned in those areas. And all of a sudden that was fully demystified. Like we knew exactly what to do, who to call, how to proceed upon being there and ready to go. Once that fear was gone, there was only the last remaining fear was basically, if I sell, where do I go? So I knew the market was so hot down here where no one would basically look at someone who has a home sale contingency, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you let me in on a little secret. You told me, Matt, don't forget, this is a seller's market. You make your own rules for the most part when you're selling your house. You could do the same thing in New Jersey. So the strategy you implemented for us, because you knew that if we had a home sale contingency, we'd have no shot in the dark to freaking get a home down here because there's so many other competitive people and buyers and offers out there where if someone has to rely on a home being sold halfway across the country, they're not even going to entertain it. So what you told me to do was go under contract in New Jersey, make a contingent on finding a home down here in Florida. The buyers in New Jersey will go for it because they'll go for anything. They're having the same problem people are buying down here. Then you said once you're past the contingency dates, you can put in offers on homes down here without showing your home sale contingency because you're already beyond the risk of anything going wrong with that. So it made a bunch of sense. You showed me my loopholes as far as being able to exit a contract. So that was the other thing too. I would say fear number 2A was how to make an offer here. And am I locked into something? But we can go on to that in a second. But the biggest fear was the home sale contingency, which wasn't a fear at all afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there are ways to position contracts where you can disclose the home sale without disclosing the home sale.
Correct.
And so, especially in a competitive market, you got to do everything that you can to give yourself a competitive advantage. And we were able to do that for you and many other people. So thank you for sharing that because
Yeah.
it's critical. So what was it like from just a moving standpoint.
So once we knew the strategy, the moving standpoint actually felt the same as if we were moving in close proximity to home, except we had to jump on a plane. Things still went on a moving truck. We just didn't drive to the new destination. We flew there. So once the strategy was laid out and you showed us how to position the sale, how to position the buy, and we were secure, then we knew the rest was going to be easy, which it was. I mean, the moving truck sucked, but every moving truck sucks. But besides that, everything else was fine. Oh, the one thing that I would say is we were hell-bent on using someone we knew for lending up north. Now, I was hell-bent on using them because family friend, the whole BS, if you know somebody, you have to use them. But when you explained to me that the way that it kind of works down here, and if an outside lender is brought to the table in an offer, not that you're not going to get a deal, but it kind of hinders you. And I saw that after speaking with a few people down here. Now, after speaking with someone you recommended down here, which is now one of our preferred lenders, I realized why. And now I recommend him to everyone because a local lender carries so much weight in an offer down here because it eliminates the fear of a deal going wrong. So that's one thing that I wish I wasn't stubborn on in the beginning. But if just for anybody else listening, if you have an out-of-state lender, just think twice. You know what I mean? Explain to them, even if it's a family friend, about what the situation is, because using a local plays a huge effect in how offers and deals get looked at down here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly how it felt.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, that's true. So if the lender is well regarded and known by a lot of people in the industry, then chances are, that you're going to have a competitive advantage. What I want to not correct, because I agree with what you just said, but kind of just expand on is, at the end of the day, I don't care who anybody uses as a lender. I want to know for certain that that loan is going
Correct.
to actually close and fund. That's the most important thing. And what I found is that a lot of the bigger institution, the Quickens, the Citibanks, the big banks that are out there, they move very slow.
Yep.
So they're not going to be able to be as nimble or perform a lot of functions that are required within the contract. So the contract in Florida defaults to a 30-day loan approval. And if you have that in the market that we're in right now, you're at a big strategic disadvantage because
Correct.
people are coming in with cash, they're removing contingencies, they're doing all kinds of crazy things. So I knew for you to have a competitive advantage, you needed to work with somebody who could reduce that timeline to a much shorter timeline. And so that coupled with closing guarantees, coupled with me knowing how that process works on his end, I knew you had a major competitive advantage.
Exactly.
And so you did, I do remember that. You did speak to another lender and you did you shopped around, which I want everybody to do.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, I want to ensure that we've got the most competitive advantages to be able to actually get you the home that you want, which in this case is exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Which is great. So that was awesome. As far as acclimating to South Florida, acclimating to, you moved from, I moved from New Jersey too, but I did it when I was 5. So it was a very different experience. How's it been so far? What's that been like?
Amazing. We probably were acclimated maybe 5-6 days after we got here. We were kind of comfortable. And we just never even thought of going back or missing. The only thing we missed, obviously, is family and friends. But that goes with any move. But you know what? Not really, because it gives them an excuse to come down here now, though, because being here in Florida, this is the place where we used to go to vacation once a year. So now we live in that place. You know what I mean? So it's no more traveling to vacation. We are here. So when people come to us, it kind of feels good, the family and friends visit, because we don't have to go home at the end of the day. The weather's been amazing. You know what, though? What's more of a win, I think, forget the weather, forget the more non-conservative these people are. But what I want to say is the communities down here. It's the kids' happiness that really took me to the next level. Yeah. And I was expecting it, but not to the degree where it is now. I mean, they had some friends back home, don't get me wrong, but they've made more friends here in the last 6 months than they've made probably in their whole lives combined. They're outside every day because we're in a community and this is what we wanted. So if you don't have a family, I get you don't want to be in a community, but if you have a family, I highly encourage looking at one simply because of the connection that your kids will have with other kids and what you have with the other parents. Because think about your friends that you're friends with that don't have kids. There's kind of a huge disconnect there, as much as you don't want there to be, but there is. So when everybody around you, is in proximity to your age, has kids, a little bit younger, a little bit older, it's just so amazing that I'm so happy that we did this now and didn't wait, because it would have been one of probably the biggest regrets we would have made would have been if we didn't do this sooner.
Yeah. And so what I do want to speak on is that, there is a home and a lifestyle for any, whatever your desired lifestyle is. So it's not all family communities
No,
like what we live in. There's a massive variety of different. Now, there's not massive inventory, unfortunately,
correct.
but there are plenty of different price points, lifestyles, and really whatever you want exist here in South Florida. And we do a great job with that. Now, what you didn't talk about, but you alluded to, is so you moved down here from New York, you bring the family, you ended up bringing relatives with you who also then moved to Florida. But you made a decision to do what as far as work is concerned?
I made a decision to go full time into real estate and joining the Igoe Home Group, um, which is something that I mean, the timing of everything was just impeccable. It was the timing for everything was amazing. So I originally wanted to just get my license down here to have MLS access because I was interested in picking up investment properties and things like that. And this is before I even spoke with Chris. Um, but basically, I got licensed for down here, and after speaking with you, I mean, the cards just aligned, the stars aligned, and I knew it was the right decision. And now that we've been doing this for quite a bit, we relocated my grandparents down here, my brother down here. It's about to be my wife's parents down here, and her brother and her sister. And what's nice is back to what you just said about you don't have to have kids and a family to do great down here. My grandparents obviously don't have young kids, and they're in the perfect area for them. Next to
Yeah.
them is people that they kind of wanted to be around. They're all in that age group. It's non-HOA, which is what they wanted. You can do HOA, you don't have to. My brother, he's in this condo complex with people his age. So like you can stick to your tribe. So there's you everywhere around here. You just got to know the area, which is why my rule number one is knowing the areas. Find where you want to go, because once you find a home, it's a win because you already know where it's located.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, in your process, was the relocation guide that I provide for people, was that something of value to you, or
Oh,
is that just
absolutely.
like an added bonus?
No, no, no. That was like my new Bible for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was awesome. And I shared it with a bunch of people too, because I wanted input. I knew that me and Zarina made the ultimate decision of where we were moving to, but I wanted to get other people's opinions on, things too, and where they visited and what they recommend. But there was a mistake because everybody had a different answer. So now I'm back to square one with a list of 1,000 places I could possibly move. So full clarity, I would tell you the 80-20 principle of this is talking with you, dissecting the lifestyle and the goals we want of where we want to be. Because if you remember correctly, I talked out loud to you about exactly where we are now before we even knew this existed. So
Yeah.
like we kind of spoke this into reality, and then you didn't build it. You just pointed me in the direction where it matched exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, so, having, lived here for 40 plus years, um, it takes me about 3 seconds flat to figure out where somebody wants to be based on what they want and what they tell me in their home and lifestyle.
Exactly.
So, anywhere in Broward, anywhere in Palm Beach County, I've either lived there or been there or am very familiar with because I've been here for 40 years. And a lot of people say they're local area experts, but the truth is I am. So
Yeah,
it's
you are.
easy to then, in talking to people who are moving from everywhere, find out, drill down what is it that they want in a home and lifestyle. And then it's really kind of just paint by numbers for me. I know where they want to be.
Well, what I appreciated the most from the beginning of what you did was you never, not for a second, pushed me to make any decision. What your number one rule is, and even though you never spoke this out loud, I'm just assuming by what I've seen with our clients and what you did with me, you were 1000% informing me. You were teaching me, now basically molding me to make a better decision for my own. So you never pushed me in one direction. You kind of informed me and educated me on the process and what I wanted, allowing me to make the final decision, which was amazing, and not many people do that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so if you're finding this content valuable, please engage with it. Leave a comment down below. If you've got any questions, obviously, please reach out. We would always love to help answer them. And then if you're interested in the relocation guide, then click the link at the, I always get this wrong, up there probably, or down here, who knows. And we'll send you a Thanksgiving turkey. Relocation guide right away. But yeah, okay, so you move, you join Igoe Home Group, and then what I will reveal is you were named Rookie of the Month, your first month in the industry.
Yes.
So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
So you kind of opened me up to your process and what you take your clients through. So now by teaching me that's what I do. You kind of molded me to be, what I was brought to, you know what I mean? Like what you brought me through, now I bring people through. And It's amazing because before I met you, I helped agents all the time because I ran a marketing company. I helped a lot of agents. I helped a lot of brokers, and it was all sell, 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 sell. It was never help and let them make an educated decision on their needs and wants. So you told me to release the sell portion. You don't have to be pushy. There doesn't have to be pressure. You don't have to tell someone to do something. Just inform them, educate them, and they're going to make the correct decision. And you just facilitate that deal. Yeah. And that's all I've been doing. And it feels amazing. Our clients are more than happy. They're ecstatic. They're just, starting new lives here because of us. And it feels just incredible. So one thing I got to say though, too, is that if you are involved in real estate, whoever's listening to this, and you kind of want that guidance, you're looking at the guy who can really, really help you out on a fast track and help other people, along the way, big time.
Yeah, well, thank you for those kind words, and it's been a blessing to have you here, and become friends with you and your family, and
thanks, man.
Go over and have pizza and barbecues at your house and go swimming. That's been awesome.
Yeah, now we're neighbors. I forgot to tell the people that we are neighbors.
Yeah, no, you're right down the block, which is very cool.
But what's funny is, and now I hear this on my Zoom calls with all the clients that come to me, is if they have a family, we all kind of want this similar thing. The people who don't have a family, obviously, they have other needs and wants, which we can, help guide them through. But the people who do have family, who do have kids, they want the community. They want their kids to be able to go outside, make new friends. They don't want to live in the action of the busyness. They want to be in close proximity to it, just like me and my wife wanted, just like you and your wife want. You want to live where it's quiet, peaceful. You can build and grow your family, but you're 5, 10, 15 minutes away from the busiest places in Florida, having a good time, restaurants, music, live bands, things like that. Come home, back to peace, once a weekend, once every other week, go back out there. That's exactly what we wanted. And once I told you all that, you already had like 3 or 4 things in your head saying this place, this place, this place, and that's where you should go visit.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that's one of the fears people have is they don't know what they don't know. And they're afraid that they're going to be stuck out in the middle of, some strange place in Florida where it's the boondocks. And it's just not like that at all. So, although that's not true, there are areas that are like that if that's what you want, but
exactly,
they're not, Southeast Palm Beach County. So no matter what it is, we got a solution, and we'll find exactly what we want. But that's awesome. So I hope you found this content valuable. Matt, thank you for sharing your story. And I do hope that if, any questions that you might have, please reach out, and you can click the link. Again, I'm screwing this up. Click the link up there. There'll be a link to a Calendly consultation, actually to my calendar, which will then book a Zoom consultation. And we'll get you on the calendar right away. We'll answer all your questions and put together a game plan for you to get exactly what you want when you're relocating from anywhere. So
And
yeah, that's it.
one thing
Yeah.
I want to throw out too, Chris, if you want to drop my number somewhere in the comments or anything like that, anybody could shoot me a text if you have a question, because when you think it's not time, you're not ready, you're 1, 2, 3 years out, you still have questions in your head. And I just want to throw this out there. The earlier you know those answers, the easier your planning process is going to be, even if you're 3 or 5 years out. It doesn't matter, because I know there's still a burning question in your head that you don't know the answer to, or that hurdle you don't know how to jump over. Shoot me a text and I'll tell you exactly how me and my wife handled it in our family, just so you at least know the answer to that. So when you are in the planning stages, that's already eliminated. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, on that note, peace.